This episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour is sponsored by the law offices of Alfred Guillaume III, a boutique criminal defense firm located in Washington, D.C. The firm specializes in defending federal criminal cases. You can learn more about the firm by visiting our website at guillaumelaw.com. That's GUILLAUME law.com. Welcome to another episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. On this month's episode, I'm joined by attorney Leroy Nix, the Vice President of Regulatory and Public Affairs for Entergy Corporation, a Fortune 500 company. Leroy received his law degree from the University of Alabama, and he completed a fellowship at the Booth School of Business at the University of Chicago. We discussed many topics during our interview, including how his legal background has helped him to achieve great success in the energy sector. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. I'm here with my good friend, attorney, rich man, and Southern Playalistic, Cadillac Funky Music.
Yeah, man, I was with you until you with the rich man piece. But,
Leroy Nix. Yeah. How are you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad that you are finally here. This is a long time coming. And before we even get started with the interview, I want to just thank you for blessing the studio with the beautiful bottle that we have here on the table. You'll be able to see it on the video when you look at it, of the Colonel E.H. Taylor Small Batch Bourbon.
Well, first of all, Alfred, thank you for having me. I know the illustrious company that you have had grace this place, and I frankly don't know why I'm here. But
man, we're here to talk about you.
No. But I want to talk about you for a second, because what you're doing with this project is phenomenal. What you do with your law practice and
I appreciate
family and all that good stuff is just amazing. So
well, people like you come on the show and make the show what it is. So when this airs, hopefully we'll have secured that first mega deal.
Well, in that case, I will be happy that I came from work and had my tie
right.
on. You know
and
what I mean?
There was some controversy about the tie or no tie. And I told you off camera, so this is the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour.
Yeah.
Folks are expecting you to be looking like a quote unquote lawyer, right?
Yeah, man, but I don't act like a lawyer. I don't think.
Well,
anyway.
No, I mean,
I don't even know what that means, but like that's how I feel inside. You know, I like to. If everybody else is going this way, I like to go
right.
that
You march to the beat of your own drum.
No
sure.
question.
But let's talk about what kind of beat that is and who you are. Now, as you know, with all these interviews, we talk about first who is sitting at this table and what they do, what their many accomplishments are, because everybody that has that in common that comes to this show, they're all way more accomplished than me. So you're no exception.
Man, you know, I love when my friends deflect that way, because my grandmother, when I was younger, she used to always say, and I'm not going to use the exact terminology that she used.
You know, hey, this is a safe space.
Yeah. So my grandmother used to always say, I'm not doing that, but my grandma used to always say, whatever our people say,
right,
do the opposite.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Like
that was a nice. I can imagine what she said.
There's no question. So you can read between the lines on that.
Exactly.
And my point in saying all of that is, you are who you are, and you are the man. So appreciate you.
Hey man, look, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
But let's get into who you are. Let the folks know what you do and why you're here in DC. And I'm going to start off by, of course, noting the obvious, that you got that accent, and I know it's not from New York City.
I don't do this very often, Alfred. So let me know.
But wear it proudly, my brother.
Yeah.
Because I'm from below the Mason-Dixon line myself.
Yeah. But my question is more simple than what you're getting to right now, and that is, when can I start drinking?
You can drink throughout. You can drink throughout because you brought the liquor, so you can drink throughout.
No. But once you give it, it's gone. So I want to house rules.
House rules. Salute,
cheers,
my brother. Yes, sir.
No question.
And we should tell the folks that the first time we met through a mutual friend, who's also been a guest on this podcast. Shout out to the chairman of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission.
There you go.
Mr. Willie Phillips.
No question.
Who's also your fraternity brother.
Right.
Yeah. Kappa Alpha Psi.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that too in a second. But we're gonna give our main man a shout out. And the first time we met was at his house.
Yep.
And you brought at that time as well a bottle of this liquor, which I had never heard of at that point. Because again, I'm not as fancy as you.
Yeah.
I think I was drinking Captain Morgan's or something at the time.
No. It's all good, man. You know.
And he shows up with this bottle, this fancy bottle of Colonel E.H. Taylor. I mean, who does that?
Yeah, but couple things. Number one, I suppose Captain Morgan is okay.
For some people, he's okay. No judgment.
Yeah. No judgment.
He was for me at the time.
Yeah. No, that was before you had all that money. Like you had like a little bit of money, but now you got a whole lot of money. You know what I mean? And so it was like different. But the bottle that I brought then was the E.H. Taylor single barrel.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a little different. A little different.
It sounds like it's more expensive than the one you bought now, right?
A little bit.
Right.
A little bit. But
so you're basically saying I wasn't worth it. You're just gonna bring me something to just placate me and that's it.
No. I feel like what we're doing and the essence of this project and everything that you have going on is like bringing us back to where we have been and where we started from. And so I didn't start right here, and neither did you.
Correct.
I think it's still reflective of that.
It's still reflective. It's
right?
somewhere in the middle, and we're good to go. And you are from?
I am from Alabama. Roll Tide.
Right.
We are in the college football playoffs right now.
But by the time this episode airs, we will know the results of the national championship.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, like straight balling, man. I mean, like that's what we do. We win national championships in Alabama.
It's funny. We'll talk about that. That's some of the things to talk about. And I actually, I'm from New Orleans.
Which I love, by the way.
You love, and we're getting so off the subject. We haven't even gotten to the subject.
Man, is there really a subject, Alfred?
No subject.
You know what I mean? Like this is what we do, man. Like
it's like Seinfeld. There's no topic. We just talk about whatever.
And this pretzel is making me thirsty. You know what I mean? It's just like what it is.
But you are from Alabama.
I am.
You went to law school at the University of Alabama.
Yep.
And so you're a native son. And you live in D.C., but you work for a company in Entergy in New Orleans.
Correct.
And you're in what I'm going to call an energy lawyer. Would that be accurate?
I think that's close. Yeah.
So tell me what it is. Tell the folks out there what your not just your day-to-day, but what your job entails. Like,
I'm Leroy Nix. I head up strategic policy and regulatory affairs for Entergy Corporation,
which is a Fortune 500 company.
Yep, the only Fortune 500 company headquartered in New Orleans, which is pretty cool, man.
My hometown.
Man, no doubt, man. And let me tell you something. You have a wonderful hometown to call a hometown, and the people in New Orleans have certainly welcomed me, and I've certainly embraced them.
Right. Did they give you a hard time being from Alabama?
Man, I think we're all kind of Southern, man.
Right.
And
y'all right next door.
Man, I think in New Orleans, man, if you like good food, you like good times, and you don't take yourself too seriously,
right?
And
none of which we do, right?
No question. And you enjoy the occasional drink,
right?
Then I think it's easy to mix there. So really enjoy that place, and happy to have it be a part of my life.
So how long have you been down in New Orleans?
Man, so I've been in the energy space for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
I started my career off. Well,
so where'd you go to undergrad? Let's start there.
The University of Montevallo, and I'm sure that everybody, for the most part, that is watching this show or this episode or listening to it, have you received the information? Have not heard of the University of Montevallo.
I have. You know why?
Well, I know you have.
Because our good friend was the first person I met.
The chairman. The
chairman was there.
Man, the University of Montevallo is the reason that I know Chairman Willie Phillips to this day. I met this guy when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
I was in this kind of pre-college program. In fact, it was called Upward Bound.
Oh, I was in Upward Bound.
Oh, were you really?
I taught in Upward Bound as well later on in life. Man, yeah.
Let me tell you something, man. This is why good brothers need to spend more time together.
All this, I've been knowing you for a few years now. We never shared that.
Yeah. We've never shared that. And I have a funny story to tell you about Upward Bound when if we get to it.
Tell it to me now.
So I first came to Washington, D.C. in 2003 after graduating from the University of Montevallo, and I worked in the United States Senate.
Mm-hmm.
If you know anything about Alabama politics,
You worked for a Republican.
I worked for a Republican.
We love everybody here in the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. Republican, Democrat.
No question. I am not a Republican,
Right.
but I got an opportunity working for a Republican. Now, I interviewed with the lone Democrat. There was one. It was a guy named Arthur Davis, representing the 7th Congressional District in Alabama. And I interviewed with every member of the Alabama congressional delegation, House and Senate. As it was during spring break, everybody goes down to Florida, do all the things that they do.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I've got to figure out what's next for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a great mentor at the time who said, hey, and at that time, Willie had come up, Chairman Phillips had come up to D.C. and he was working, doing all of that good stuff. And instead of going to Florida, doing all the things that
Right,
people do
that young
during
folks
spring
do.
break, I come up to D.C. with my one good suit.
Right.
And man, I pound the pavement. I meet with every congressional office from Alabama and interview, do all of those things. And man, I get back and Jeff Sessions, his office called me and they said, hey man, we've got a job for you if you want it. And it was answering the phones in the United States, well, actually in the Russell Senate office building.
Wow. Jeff Sessions is a former senator from Alabama.
Yep, former senator, former
and
attorney
also
general.
Commissioner Phillips worked for him as well.
Yep, no doubt. And man, I made $23,000 a year in one of the most expensive cities in the whole world.
I'm surprised you made anything. I thought maybe it was a free a lot of people that work in that world, they don't get paid any money.
Man, listen.
That's not a lot of money.
Yeah, shout out to Discover Card, man, because I think I had a Discover Card. Actually, there's no think about it. I know I had a Discover Card, a credit card, and it had a $5,000 credit limit. And when I left, I was at $5,000.
This is for the summer. This is for
no.
This is your job.
No, I had a house. I mean, I didn't have a house. I had a roommate in a little space that we shared. And I paid rent, and I had to figure out how to get it. I went to free receptions all the time.
Right, that's the typical DC life, right?
Man. And so
what year was this?
This was 2003.
And you had just graduated from college.
Just graduated from college.
And you're from Alabama. But where in Alabama are you from?
Man, I grew up in Maplesville, Alabama. It's in Central Alabama. Of course you haven't. And so
now I was bringing back memories. I remember when we first met, we were drinking the same drink. And I remember you saying something about Central Alabama. I remember thinking to myself, where the hell is Central Alabama?
Well, I say Central Alabama just to kind of give you like a geographic, try to orient you geographically, but that's not a place necessarily. Well, it actually is a city in Alabama,
so
but that's
the
not
middle
where
of
I'm
the state.
from.
That's where you're from.
Yeah, 45 minutes north of Montgomery, 45
How
minutes
big is
south
Maplesville?
of Birmingham.
How many folks live there?
About 4,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, one traffic light. And actually, that's not even a traffic light. It's a caution light.
Wow.
Yeah.
So from Maple, is it a rural area, urban area?
No, it's 100% rural, man. My graduating class, I had 33 people.
Whoa.
In my graduating class, 2 of which were Black, and they were my cousins. Yeah.
So you that's saying something, and we make jokes about this kind of stuff, but I'm a big proponent of what I call the American dream. And it's not necessarily the American dream that other people may talk about, but, only in this country can you come from, in theory, a place where there's 4,000 people and make it to the center of power and become one of the people like you are now. And I know you're going to be humble and not say it, but I'm going to say it, making decisions that affect millions of people's lives and be a legitimate player. And it's nowhere else, at least in the, I'm assuming, not to get too deep in this, but you are descended from slaves.
No question.
As am I. And nowhere else in the world where that's the case does that exist, but in this country. So while we have lots of things that are not great, we have a whole lot that is. And we're really lucky and blessed to be
able to inspire. I mean, our ancestors paid the ultimate price, right? But here we are, sitting here today, drinking expensive liquor from some guy who probably owned slaves himself. But
No question.
at least it tastes good, right?
No question. No question.
But anyway, it's really remarkable and amazing. And you and Commissioner Phillips and folks like you guys that come from these small towns and are just sitting with the most powerful of people literally in the world, to me is an inspiration. And it's amazing. It's really amazing. You know, you just came from a reception where you were with 500 powerful people.
And Alfred, when you started your comments there, man, it just made me It made me think back on frankly something that is like extremely important to me. And you talk about these powerful people, and speaking of which, man, one of my girls, who is one of my homegirls, she is the first United States Senator from the state of Alabama, female.
Wow.
I think she may be 40.
Tell us her whole name. Who is she?
Katie Britt. She may be 40. But man, I remember when we started off, and it's just, and the point that I'm trying to make,
it's amazing,
is not to talk about Katie, who is great. The point that I really want to make is that, man, when you started talking about like all of these like powerful, important people, and everybody's important to me, frankly, just to be honest with you.
Right.
But man, my first thought went to my granddad.
Right.
A guy named Henry T. Wilson. He was not formally educated, didn't graduate from anybody's school, but he is the most respected person universally by any objective measure that you use, at least in terms of the people that
still
knew
with
him.
us?
He is not. He is not. But one of the most well-respected cats.
Right.
That ever did it, man.
Right.
And you know why?
Isn't that amazing?
Man, it's amazing.
With no, I'm not gonna say role model, but no example to draw from. I think about our at this point, they are our ancestors, even our grandparents who are no longer with us, and think about what they had to overcome in the time in which they lived, and the fact that they were able to raise children and have grandchildren that achieved these great things. It's truly remarkable. In spite of their circumstances, they achieved. And it's something that I'm very proud of and will continue to be proud of. And, we are all they're living dreams. It's really quite amazing. But especially someone like you, who comes from the rural South, Black man, makes it all the way to D.C. and then prospers in D.C. You don't just flail out and go back home. You had no other choice, right? You had to succeed. Failure was not an option. So, kudos, brother. It's really remarkable, especially, someone from your background. And I don't know a whole lot about your background, but you're from a rural town in the South.
Yeah.
So I can, I know enough. I know enough right there to see, and I know where you are now. So that's quite remarkable.
Well, Alfred, what's interesting, man, is, you talked about, like my granddad, like just him being respected the way he was and not really having like this formal education or this, any type of real roadmap.
Right.
For lack of a better word, right?
It was a roadmap.
But I think he did. And I think he did because the roadmap was life. And survival, and how do we figure this thing out? Despite all of in spite of all the odds, right? And I think that's what you are doing. That's what we are doing.
We're trying.
And it's frankly like what our culture has had to do, like
since we got here,
since forever, man. So like it's nothing new in that regard. The only thing
but
is
the fact that we've done it is, to me, I sit back and I think about even my parents. I'm like, how did you guys do that?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have it like that.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in my father grew up in the segregated South. My mother grew up in inner city Los Angeles with, a single parent home. Like, how did they achieve what they achieved and raise me to be who I am? I don't know.
Man, you know what's
I'm
funny?
living a life of luxury compared to many people, and especially them.
Shit, man, my people think that my folks think I'm rich.
Well, you are
man,
rich.
No,
I
no,
mean.
no, 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 no.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No.
The man.
Well, first of all, when I first came to Washington D.C., all of my family, when somebody asked them, "Hey, what does Leroy do?" You know, man,
He's a lawyer.
This is what they said. No, So I wasn't a lawyer at this time. This was before law school. And they would all say, "Oh yeah, he works at the White House." Man, I have never worked at the White House, but that's what
Right,
they
that's what
associated
folks
with
think with
Washington
Washington,
D.C.
D.C.
And man, it got to the point where I got tired of trying to explain to people
Like, yeah, I
that
worked
I
there.
didn't work at the White House. I was just like, "Yep."
Right,
But
it's a little redundant, but yeah.
but the main point of all of it was they were extremely proud.
Right,
And
absolutely.
I was and every success that I've ever had, frankly, has been a result of all of the inputs from so many of those people. I had one of my cousins ask me one time, and man, I'm gonna be honest with you, he was like a derelict. You know what I'm saying? Like
we have plenty of derelicts.
ain't no question.
Shout out to my derelict cousins.
Yeah,
I love y'all.
shout out. I wish you had one of those horns right now, but and when I say he was a derelict, man, he just did what he did. You know
Right.
what I mean? And he asked me one time. He said, "Hey, cuz, are you gonna run for president one day?" And you know, I'm making all the little calculations, split second calculations in my mind. I'm like, no, I ain't running for no president or nothing because I know what that looks like. You know what I mean? And then I was like, no, cuz I don't think I'm going to do that. And then he's like, man, why not? You are top shelf.
Yeah.
You are top shelf. Man, this was probably 2003. Yeah, it was 20 years ago that he said that to me. And the fact
20
that
plus at this
20 plus, yeah.
Right.
And the fact that he thought about that, and this
Right.
is coming from somebody that I frankly would never give, or never think about him thinking about politics or me running for office or anybody running for office, but for him to put all of
Right.
those things together and come up with that thought.
Yeah,
For
the
me.
man was on to something.
Well-
I was sitting here thinking to myself, this guy's a politician.
Man, come on, man.
As we speak.
No. But I do love to I do love the process. I think it's important for our communities. I think that leadership matters.
You were in the political realm.
That's why I support like good people.
So, it's interesting. I classified you a moment ago as a energy attorney, but it sounds to me, the tone of our conversation has been you are a political guy. So how does your job intersect with the political world, if at all?
But man, 100%. So when you think about our business, you think about Entergy, who I've been with for a little bit over a year now, and then you think about the 15 plus years that I spent with Southern Company, which is another large Southern based regulated utility company or energy company. We're one of the most heavily regulated industries in the world. Right. So everything about our business, exactly. So Entergy, Southern Company, and there are a host of other, of course, utility companies around the country. And, when you think about the, frankly, the mandate that we've been given in terms
Because your job is to keep, what do the companies do? Like for those who may not know, what do those energy companies do? What's their responsibility?
But at the end of the day, the responsibility is to keep the lights on.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah, provide energy and do it in the most affordable, clean, safest way possible, right? And so to that end, we are all regulated and governed by these bodies, in many cases elected officials, that make sure that we're doing what we need to do the way that we need to do it. And frankly, what it looks like really, and what it should look like, is a partnership that is centered on making sure that we're doing the best and making the best decision for our customers, right? And so, yeah, it's extremely political to some extent.
So you're meeting with politicians, I would imagine, pretty frequently in your role.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And of both parties.
Man, I'm pretty. I try to be a pretty reasonable person, and I think I'm pretty level-headed generally.
I would say
but
so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But
You have good taste in alcohol.
yeah, well, and at least and at least according to your opening comments, my clothes too.
Right,
But you
yeah.
didn't. I don't know if they
Got a
recorded
nice watch
that.
there. I mean, you got. We're gonna start analyzing. Just become a fashion podcast, man. Look at. So you're meeting with politicians, and again, it goes to my larger point of you just coming from a place where one would not necessarily expect to, based on the, where you come from, to arrive at that place, but yet you're doing it and doing it well.
Yeah.
So, for people who are listening, for folks who are from Central Alabama or a small town or a small city in the United States, and they want to achieve, the things that you've done, what would you say, what advice would you give? I know it's a very broad question, and I know a lot of it, that your success, I would imagine, is just was circumstantial, right? Like you were in the right place at the right time, you knew the right people, but also I'd imagine you probably worked pretty hard too. So what do you think is the key to your success?
And I think it's I think first of all that is a very I won't even call it a broad question. I think that's a complex question.
It's complex.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, Alfred, like we are who we are, and who we are by and large are like is like driven by our environment, right? And so the
Interesting.
same.
We just had a conversation, my co-creator and I, earlier today about environment and or is your destiny predetermined and that sort of stuff. I mean, looking at you, one would say it's not, right? You can do whatever you want to do. My grandmother used to say that to me, rest in peace. She used to say, you can do whatever you want to do. And she was a teacher. She came from a rural town in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. And she told me, whatever you want to do, you can do it. And I'm like, well, not everything. She says, anything. So,
man, I think what I would say, and this is probably a comment that's less focused on the people that I know you're asking the question for, and more so for like the people that are responsible for the people that you're asking that question for.
Let's talk about that too.
Right. And so, man, exposure is so important. Man, if somebody didn't take an interest in me at some point in time and say, hey, I think this would be an opportunity that would be good for you because they saw something in me, then I wouldn't be sitting here. If my mom who didn't have a whole lot of money, but felt like it was important for her children to have some semblance of a summer vacation, which basically meant we drove 45 or 50 minutes up the road to Birmingham, Alabama, to then the Winfrey Hotel that had a swimming pool.
Wow.
And we could spend 2 days there swimming.
Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. That's very inspirational what you just said. That's
like, man, but she had the presence of mind being a single parent to like appreciate the fact that, man,
you probably had wonderful times at the hotel, right?
Man, I learned how to swim at the Winfrey Hotel, and I don't know who this white lady is to this day, but this lady taught me how to swim on one of those occasions.
Wow, that's something.
I'm just saying. And so when you ask me like what would I say? Exposure, of course, hard work. Man, I'll never forget when I was growing up. Man, it's so cool that we're having this conversation right now, because I was telling you before we started filming today that I spent the Thanksgiving holiday down in New Orleans, going to the Bayou Classic. I took my whole family.
I haven't been to Bayou Classic in years.
Man, this was my first time going, and it was like super cool. But
you did the VIP version, I'm sure.
It was cool. And so
that would be a yes.
And so, but we drove over from Alabama because I took my girls down. We hung out at my family's house, and then I took nephews, my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law. But before we, as we were getting on the road, we stopped for gas in, the town that we live in. And man, I saw this girl, and I told you that I graduated from my graduating class was 33 people.
Yeah.
What I didn't tell you was I was the valedictorian
Oh, man, look at that.
of that. And then the other 2 black people in the class were my cousins, right? So that's and so when I say that I was
any family drama behind that?
yeah. But when I say I was a valedictorian, it's not that
Well, you
that
were better
cool.
than 32 other people. So I mean,
There's no question about that. And so, but man, the smartest girl in my class was a woman named Catherine McLeod. Catherine McLeod, and I haven't seen this woman in 20 years.
probably more than that.
Since graduation.
Right.
Catherine McLeod was the smartest, most naturally talented person in my class.
Yeah, women have it like that, unlike us.
Man, I am telling you, she was, and I knew that even then.
Right.
And so what I calculated was, man, I just got to work harder than everybody else.
Right.
And man, Catherine, she kind of got off and did some other things or whatever. But like at the end of the day, I always knew who the smartest person in my class. Man, Catherine, I saw her as we were getting gas, working at the Chevron station, and she recognized me. She looked familiar to me, but I didn't know. I don't get down enough to know that. And then she tells my mom, she's like, "Hey, is that Leroy?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then, man, I go back in, and man, that's one of the best moments that I've had in so long, because I was so happy to see her. And so to get back again to your original question, man, I think it's hard work. I think it's exposure. I think it's man, just being blessed, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
it's a big part of it.
Man, it's a huge part of it.
It might be the only part of it.
I think you might be right.
Right.
And so I remember growing up, man, my mom, because I knew I had to outwork everybody. Because some smarter people, naturally gifted.
Right. No, I'm the same way.
You know what it is.
Right.
And so
2 dummies sitting here talking about
man, come on, 2 dummies,
outworking the smart kids.
Yeah, 2 dummies.
My wife is a smart kid and I'm not. And we have children and she doesn't necessarily understand like when my children may not get something the first time, why that is. And I'm like, that's normal people.
Exactly. And man, and I don't even question my children.
I do love my wife though, by the way.
Yeah, of course you do. I know he said that before the camera was rolling too.
Right.
And so, but yeah, my children are so much smarter than I was. Like, man, y'all are smart. We're having like real conversations. But either way it goes, I'll never forget, man, just growing up, man, my mom, I'd be studying. I stay up to 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know somebody else like that.
And my mom...
I was not that guy.
And my mom would say, "Boy, cut that light off. Turn the light off. Go to sleep." And man, I used to get so mad. Man, I used to get angry. I'm like, man, I'm trying to do something here.
Right.
Do you not... This is what I'm saying inside as like a 15, 16-year-old. Like,
I'm trying to get somewhere.
Do you not understand what... And I think what my mom, and of course, as all moms understand better than we do, what she realized was like, "Fool, I understand what you're doing, but you also need some rest.
You need to sleep and function, right?"
And it always all worked out. But the point is, man, like we just got to like put it, like, lean into it, man.
Right.
And
you gotta work hard.
Man, have to, man.
So you took some time off between college and law school? You went straight through?
Yeah, I took some time off to take a job paying $23,000 a year and and working long
How much
hours.
time did you take off?
Man, I took off 4 years, man.
Okay, I took off 3.
Yeah.
So in those 4 years you were living in D.C., you decided you wanted to go to law school, and you chose University of Alabama.
Yeah.
Now, we will talk football in a second. Now, let me just say, before we even get into that, I'll just say for the record, okay, I'm not anti-Alabama. But
it sounds like you are about to like trend that way.
No. I'm not, actually. I'm not. I am not. And for those folks out there who don't know a whole lot about college football, Alabama has been a perennial powerhouse for many years in the sport. And many people do not like them because they have been so good, right? I was one of those people. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not anymore. Okay, I'm gonna get. I have no problem giving my flowers, your flowers.
Man, let me fix my tie over here, man. I think I'm the only person that's ever been on this show with a tie on, but it's all good. Go ahead.
Nick Saban during COVID, and actually during the summer of 2020, when there was a lot of protests going on, came out and took some very controversial stances to a lot of people, and I was very shocked and surprised in a good way that he stood with a lot of his players on certain issues. And ever since then, I'm a secret Alabama fan. I don't really root for them, but I don't root against them. And I got a lot of respect for Nick Saban based on what I saw. You never can judge a book by its cover. That's what I learned in that lesson.
So what was some of the controversial stances that you mean, like him supporting them getting paid, or
Well, no, it's just it's as far
during
as
the
you know, when we were in summer of 2020, there was a lot of
fair enough, got it.
protests around
Yep.
race, issues of race, police brutality, college and professional athletes protesting. And Nick Saban was in line with his players and then with communities like the African American community, who you would not think that he would necessarily be aligned with on those issues. And I saw that. And I really, it took a lot. It takes a man like Nick Saban, who most people are not going to talk ill of because he's had so much success. And he doesn't have to do that. He can just simply say nothing and collect his $1 million, well, multi-million dollars every year. But he did. And ever since then, I get a lot of respect for him. And, I mean, obviously Alabama has dominated. I guess in theory, I should be an LSU fan. I'm not. I didn't go to the school. If LSU plays Alabama, I don't know who I would root for. I know a lot of people from Louisiana, the ones who are going to hate me for saying that.
Yeah, they are.
But I'm not. Whatever. It is what it is.
I mean, Brian Kelly.
Yeah, he was the current coach of LSU football. Yeah. He came from Notre Dame. And, it is what it is. But it's not a sports podcast. It's I don't want to put that on the record. And when this comes out, when this episode is released, we will know who the national champion is. And Alabama has a shot, and we'll see.
And listen, if Alabama wins, can we do like a special follow-up edition
with
we do talk about sports and music and right. Whatever else we want to talk about, but that would be fantastic.
We'll see. We will know. So when you're listening to this, you already know who the national championship for college football is for the 2023 football season.
Roll Tide.
This episode will come out in 2024, so we'll know.
Yeah, I think it's quite fitting that I say. Or I make the following comment, which was, have you ever been to an Alabama football game?
Any college football game.
Well, we need to change that.
I'm willing. Let's go.
Yeah, we need to change that. And whenever you go to an
wait, before I just remembered something.
Okay.
My guy, Jalen Hurts, was
the
former quarterback at University of Alabama. And I'm a Saints fan by blood. I'm an Eagles fan by marriage. And I really support Jalen Hurts. And he was a former player there, so yeah,
Not only a former player, but when you think about that brother and like just his career, right? And the class and grace with which he handled a whole lot of adversity.
We don't have any rules in this podcast. Yeah. We can talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, I like that.
So let's just. I'm gonna keep it, as brief as I can. But let me just say, this you kind of alluded to, and I cut you off, but. This young man has been so positive, has been so such a remarkable way, the way he's handled himself in the public eye, and he's obviously a phenomenal athlete. But yet and still, I do not see him on enough endorsements. I do not see him. I don't know why that is, but I really, if anybody's listening, let's get Jalen Hurts. He does have the Hulu endorsement. I knew that commercial. But let's get Jalen Hurts more out front and center as being just a positive role model for anybody, black, white, whatever you are. I really, looking at him from afar, I really admire his style. I mean, the brother he's got it going on. He seems like a great young man, and he's doing a phenomenal job, and, go Eagles.
And speaking of the Eagles, man, I have never been in fear of my life at a sporting event.
Right, as in an Eagles game?
Yeah. Well, it's actually 2 times. One, Alabama LSU, the first year after
Saban left.
After Saban left, man, I was scared. And then the second time, man, I was, and this was actually before that time, I was dating this lady who was awesome, and her brother-in-law played football for the Redskins. And we all go up, and Champ Bailey's wife was with us, and we go up in a car.
Champ Bailey's football player.
Yeah, Champ Bailey. And
is he an Alabama guy too?
No, he's a Georgia guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we go up to the football game, drive from DC to Philadelphia, and then they're in this limousine. Limousines have always been like a little.
That's
like,
fancy. See what I told you, folks?
No.
This is a fancy brother we dealing with.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, I feel so uncomfortable. I never want to be the center of anybody's attention ever.
Come out of a limousine.
And I've always been that way. Limousines, anything else, just like, man, I'm just going to do what I do.
Right.
I do it quietly, and
flying under the radar.
That's just what it is.
It's
and
a
man,
good strategy to live life by.
Yeah, man. It's just it makes me comfortable.
Right.
And so we pull up in front of the Eagle Stadium, and man, the limo driver had a Redskins jersey on, and man, he gets out, and man, I just hear like this torrent of like noise and booze and like mainly expletives. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's just loud. And man, so he opens the door. Man, we get out. The Champ Bailey's wife gets out
coming
first.
in a limousine.
But, yeah, exactly.
It didn't matter.
In front of the stadium, as
Right.
all of these people
Going
crossing,
through the
trying to get
VIP
in.
entrance.
No, it wasn't the VIP entrance. I don't know what the entrance was,
Right.
but everybody else was
You were in
coming
no
in there.
man's
You know what I
land.
mean? And I was just like, hey. And so I like the
What are we
Champ
doing
Bailey's
here?
wife gets out first, and only because not because I was scared,
Right,
but
it's okay.
because I was like positioned in the limousine such that like that was the natural order of things. And man, when I finally get out, I was like, hey man, I've never been cussed so many ways, so loudly, so aggressively in my whole life.
Shout out to Philly right now.
Yeah, shout out to Philly, man. And I was like, man, let me get in this little door over here and get away from you. Man, don't wear this jersey anymore when we come up here.
Right.
You know?
That's a rookie mistake. How did he not know that? That's the cardinal sin.
Or it could have been like a G move. It's like,
Right,
yeah, man,
yeah.
this is what it is, you know? But
Right. It's probably
I didn't like it.
Right, exactly. But you end up back in law school. You end up in law school coming from DC. You chose University of Alabama.
Yep.
You didn't want to try to stay in DC. You wanted to go back home.
Man, you know, when I came to DC, and when you come from a place like, or when you grow up in a place like I grew up, which was full of love and all that good stuff, but you didn't see a whole lot of the opportunities that, you know, we see today, and that you'll expose your kids to, and that I'll expose my kids to, because we didn't know, and we didn't know because our people didn't know, right? And I tell people to this day, one of the best jobs that I've ever had was working in Capitol Hill, because I learned so much about so much, right? And was exposed to so many different professions, so many different issues, so many different people. And the beautiful thing about that is, like, man, I know that, you know, when my girls are of age, they will, if they want to, have the opportunity to do an internship on Capitol Hill, or work on Capitol Hill, or know.
Why did you get my kids a job?
Yeah, I mean, we can do it.
I need to get them off the payroll, right?
and you know what a lawyer
Right. And that's the
looks
thing.
like. You know what I mean? But you know, how do we position ourselves to have the most options that we can have, right? And that's one of the reasons, frankly, that I went to law school. And you know, I'm not necessarily sure that I ever thought of myself as being a courtroom attorney, somebody just standing in front of a
People,
jury.
when they think of lawyer, a lot of times they think of that image, but most of the lawyers that I know are not that, to be honest with you.
Same here.
And that's what I do. I mean, I'm a courtroom lawyer, but my no other friend of mine, well, there's a couple here and there, but the ones I went to law school with and my close friends, many of them are not. You included.
Yeah.
And it's a very diverse degree when you get a Juris Doctorate. It's a very, you can do anything you want to do. Most senators and politicians, people that are in Congress, they went to law school, and they're not necessarily not courtroom lawyers either, but they're making laws, influencing laws.
I do believe that when it's all said and done, the credentials matter. And Alfred, I don't have to believe or know that you're a lawyer after talking to you to know that you are like bright, thoughtful, engaging, successful, you know, full of potential and capacity and all of those good things. But that little piece of paper, it helps. And so that just gives you another layer of optionality.
Of credibility, I guess.
Yeah, credibility, which leads to or lends itself to optionality, and we need that.
Right. So you are, before we get out of here, because I know you have to be on a plane tomorrow.
I do.
Right.
I'm going to your. I'm
right.
going.
You're in my city more than I am.
Yeah.
I don't make it back as much as you do.
Yeah.
But you are, you're here in DC. You're making these power moves on a daily basis. And what is the thing that keeps you going? Like, what, besides the things that you've already said, is there anything what is the thing that keeps you like engaged and wanting to, like, where do you see yourself ending up in all this?
What I try to do, Alfred, is frankly remove myself from it and really think about and replace that with, like, what does my legacy look like? What does my contribution to this world and this society look like? And at the end of the day, when I think like real truthfully about it, and I'm giving you like things that I don't talk to anybody
Give
about,
it to me. Well,
frankly, but I think about a lot for myself because it matters, right?
Right.
I spend so much of my time investing in other people, man. And I do that because I think that is the work that will live on. You know what I mean? And the way that I think about it is, if I help somebody the same way that somebody helped me, you empower that person to help somebody else, and you empower that person to help somebody else. And it's just this continuation, man. And like one of these days, what I hope ends up happening is not only have I helped that person for themselves, but also I've got 2 little girls.
Right. As do I. Look at you.
Yeah. I've got 2 little girls. And man, what I would love to know and take comfort in is the fact that somebody will help my 2 little girls and somebody else's 2 little girls if they need it, because their daddy helped them somewhere along the way. So that's how I think about it, man, because at the end of the day, Alfred, I know you got a lot of money, but man,
you can't take it with you, baby.
Yeah, man, it's only so many houses that you can live in at one time. It's only so many pairs of Gucci's. Man, I'm not even gonna go off on my Gucci.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm not even doing that.
You can't take it with you.
Yeah, you can't take it with you, man.
And that, I can't think of a better note to end this part of the interview on. And it was we'll of course going to talk more and drink more and celebrate each other more throughout the years and even today. But I do want to thank you, man, for coming on and talking and sharing your family history and your thoughts on everything. It really means a lot to me. And I just want to be clear about one thing again. I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm just not against them per se.
Man, just go ahead and say it. Roll Tide, man. Roll Tide.
And we'll see when this episode is released who the actual champion is. I'm actually engaged in college football this season, this year, like I've never been before. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, as we close here, man, I just want to say thank you. I'm extremely proud of the fantastic work that you are doing across so many platforms, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
It's good for me personally because I take a great deal of joy out of seeing you accomplish so many things that you're working on, but also think that it's good for the culture.
Absolutely.
And so
at the end of the day, that's what matters.
So keep it up, man.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. Please subscribe to this podcast. It's available everywhere, including Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. New episodes are released on the 12th of each month, and if you'd like to see the video version of any interview, they can be found on my YouTube page at the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you on the B-side.